most people would walk past a wounded bird without a second glance. I almost did too, but something about the way it trembled there in the courtyard, helpless, barely breathing, stopped me. Its small chest heaved against the cold stone, one wing bent at a strange angle. I don't know why I picked it up. Maybe it was because, for the first time in years, something other than the ache in my own chest caught my attention. I'm Ethan. I work in a small town library that barely gets visitors these days. It suits me. I like the silence. Silence doesn't ask questions. It doesn't remind me of what I've lost. 5 years ago, I had a family. A wife who laughed at my terrible jokes and a daughter who always had sticky hands and wild stories about dragons and moonbeams. Then one rainy afternoon, a phone call changed everything. They were gone before I could say goodbye. Since then, I've just existed. I show up, I put books back on shelves, I eat cold soup, I sleep alone. People stopped asking how I was after I stopped answering. So when I found that bird, barely clinging to life, I didn't expect it to matter. I wrapped it gently in my scarf and tucked it behind the desk. At first, it was just a distraction, something to do. I searched online how to care for an injured bird, mashed up seeds, warmed a box with a towel. Each tiny motion felt unfamiliar, like waking up from a long sleep and finding your limbs don't work right anymore. The bird didn't move much at first. Its eyes stayed half closed. I talked to it sometimes, not because I expected it to understand, but because I'd forgotten what my voice sounded like when it wasn't talking about overdue fines or library hours. And then, one morning I walked in and found it standing. Wobbly, yes, but standing. Its eyes met mine and something stirred inside me. It wasn't joy exactly, just a flicker, like the soft light that filters through trees on a cloudy morning. It didn't last long, but I noticed it. Over the next few days, I found myself rearranging things to make space for its tiny recovery station. I checked on it before anything else. I began staying later after work, just watching. Sometimes I imagined what my daughter would say if she saw me now. Probably something like, "You finally made a friend, Dad." The thought made me smile and ache all at once. I didn't tell anyone about the bird. It felt too delicate, too sacred. Like if I said it aloud, the fragile thread holding it and me together might snap. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. The days passed quietly. The bird, whom I'd silently begun calling Ash, started to test its wing, flapping gently in the box, hopping from one side to the other. It still wasn't strong enough to fly, but the effort was there. Watching Ash try, fail, rest, and try again stirred something deep in me. A mirror I hadn't meant to look into. It was like watching myself, only smaller and braver. Then came the girl. Her name was Lila. She must have been around 10, with the tangled curls and too much curiosity for a place like my library. She came in with her grandmother, who was part of a book club that met once a week. Lila wandered while the women chatted over tea and poetry. She found the box behind my desk on a quiet Thursday afternoon and gasped, loud enough to startle both me and Ash. "You have a bird," she exclaimed, crouching low to peer in. "Is it yours?" I opened my mouth, but words tangled behind years of disuse. "It's hurt. I'm just helping." She nodded solemnly, like I'd just shared a great truth. "That's nice. Most people wouldn't bother." That one sentence cracked something open. In the weeks that followed, Lila made it a habit to visit Ash, asking questions, leaving small flowers or crumbled crackers by the box, and somehow I found myself answering her, sometimes even smiling. Her presence didn't demand anything from me. It just existed, like sunlight on a winter morning. I began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, it was okay to feel again. One evening after everyone had left and the world outside had turned to velvet blue, Ash took flight. It was sudden, unexpected. One moment, it was perched on the edge of the box. The next, its wings stretched wide, cutting through the stillness, fluttering in wide, uncertain circles. I held my breath, watching this fragile creature rise in the space above the shelves, its wings finally remembering what freedom felt like. It landed clumsily on the windowsill, feathers ruffled but whole. I walked over and opened the window. For a long moment, Ash just stood there, staring at the open sky. And then, with one final glance, it lifted itself into the twilight and was gone. I stood there long after the wind had stopped moving the curtains. Not sad, not exactly, just quiet. My hands, once curled tight with the need to hold on, were open now. Lila came the next day and I told her Ash had flown. She didn't cry. She just nodded and said, "That means you helped." She was right. And maybe in helping Ash, I helped myself too. Healing isn't loud. It's not made of grand gestures or applause. Sometimes it's just in feeding something small and broken, in letting it rest, in watching it grow. And when it finally flies away, you don't grieve the leaving. You honor the courage it took to stay. If you're still holding on to something that hurts, maybe it's time to loosen your grip. Not everything that breaks is meant to be fixed. Some things are meant to be freed. If this story touched you in any way, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments, leave a like, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. Sometimes, a simple story can be the beginning of someone's healing.